And I'm sure all of you know by now, we are in a major transition on ever so many levels.
What if gold and silver aren't just surging, but are signposts for a monetary revolution? Lynette Zang just issued a warning that goes far beyond the markets. She says we're entering the endgame of fiat money, and the only assets built to survive are real, physical, and independent. Paper wealth, digital illusions, false narratives, the system is shifting underneath our feet. And while the crowd sleeps, the smart money is quietly repositioning in bullion. Stay with us now, because what Lynette reveals next may change not just how you invest, but how you hold value, autonomy, and freedom in a world that's moving fast.
Things are changing. Now, of course, the government and the central banks want you to think that everything is just the same, because then you move forward in a way that they want you to. But the rapid inflation by the loss of purchasing power that we've really been experiencing, really since 2008, since the crisis began, that pulls public attention to the fact that the dollar is losing value too rapidly and the public loses confidence in the system. So what's been happening really since 2008, there was no doubt in my mind that the system died in 2008. That's when I bought this property, became an urban farmer, and made sure, because I know food is the single biggest issue for people, I made sure that I could feed my family. Food, water, energy, security, barterability, which for me is primarily silver, wealth preservation, which for me is primarily gold, community, because we're running out of time, people. You got to get these sureties in place, and we need the community to do that, and shelter, because these are all the things that we need to lead a reasonable standard of living. And I'm sure all of you know by now, we are in a major transition on ever so many levels. Here we have the rise of America's young socialists from the 2008 financial crisis to the recent election of Mondami. Well, what are they fighting for? To freeze the rent? It's not the rent that needs to be frozen. It's the value of the money that needs to be stabilized. I remember in 2008 with the Occupy Wall Street movement, and it was a global movement, and there were a lot of people that were scared and angry and hurt and damaged from it. They didn't know what they were fighting for. And quite honestly, in 2008, I didn't have a big enough voice to try and show them and help them understand what this battle was all about. But now we have to. Now we have to, because people are dissatisfied. And when they get hungry and hopeless, they make choices they would not otherwise make. It is really, really important that you don't fight for price control, you fight for monetary control. This is what we should be fighting for. You have the merger of corporations with government coming together to work together for whose benefit? Not yours and my benefit, for corporate benefits. Because there have been some that have been deemed too big to fail. But you and I, the public, we're just about the right size. And this is why we have to come together in a global and a local sound money movement and demand redeemable gold back in our monetary system again, because that will eliminate the abuse. Not fixing rent, that's not going to do it. But what we've certainly seen is a rise in socialism. And it's also something else. It's the flowering of movement that began to gestate nearly 20 years ago when the misery of the financial crisis proved formative for a generation then just coming of age. Because on a global basis, protests have become more and more widespread and more frequent. When people are hungry and hopeless, they make choices they would not otherwise make. But imagine if you had surety in all of your necessities. And imagine further if we had sound money that could not be inflated away so that you were fairly paid for your labor today. You're trading labor for labor. That's fair. Instead of what we do right now, labor for debt. That's not fair. If we had sound money back in the system, it's a fair system because no matter when you go to use that money, you have always been fairly paid for your labor. What does the IMF say? Buckle up. Why? Because the system is falling apart. This is the end of the currencies of the current system's life cycle. And in 2008, they put it on QE life support to inflate everything to keep you inside the system. Don't be fooled by their lies because we are now at a place where we're in melt-up form. Yes, we are. But we're also in a place where supply and demand seem to be mattering again. And at some time, valuations will also matter again. Because the level of protests and the level of misery out there is growing. And we're all feeling this inflation, all of us, especially those that have had their wealth inflated away because they're working for pure debt and they're not getting enough of that to even pay their bills. You have to decide what it is you want, not just for yourself, but for all those future generations. There are growing movements all over the world. What if those that were really seeking the solutions to this abuse and that inflation, what if they found that sound money solution that's been there for thousands and thousands of years? That's why you that are watching this video, that's why you're so important. Because I'm one person. There's only so much that I can do. It takes an army. And I believe if we can get just 3% of the 8.4 billion people on this planet, just 3%, to convert their fiat into sound money and then to demand redeemable gold back in the system, in the new system that they're putting in place, that's how we, the public, truly take the power back. Not rent control. That won't do it because the costs are still going to keep going up. It's making sure that the money that you trade your time, your energy, your labor for buys the same thing over time, not less and less and less, like this garbage that costs virtually nothing to create. And if it's digital, it costs even less than that. That's why it has no value. And it's used in one place. Gold, silver, used in every single sector of the global economy. It has the most demand. And that's what we need in this market because these markets are shifting to a demand-driven market. And what do we need the most? We need sound money. Physical gold is the ultimate safe haven financial asset because it is the only financial asset that runs zero counterparty risk. Silver absolutely maintains your ability to purchase the same goods and services, and that's just recently broken out from a 200-year resistance level. That's major. And yes, in terms of dollars, will these both silver and gold go higher? Yes, because right at this moment, anyway, that's our tool of barter. And even when we shift into the new system, they will more than likely keep the names the same so that you don't realize that anything has changed. They know how to do this. They've had lots and lots and lots of practice. But don't be fooled by their lies. They want to stay in power on the other side of this transition so that they can continue to rob you and abuse you. It's not what I want for us. It's not what I want for my children, your grandchildren, all the children yet to be born. We all want, you travel around the world, you talk to people, and we all want the same thing. We all want a safe place to live and raise our children. We want opportunities to thrive. We need a roof over our head and food in our bellies. This paper system doesn't do it by design. The digital system will do it more subtly, take it away from you by design. Honest money.
Lynette Zang didn't just talk about markets. She exposed the truth behind the system. Gold and silver aren't about getting rich quick. They're about staying free when paper promises collapse. The question isn't if fiat fails, it's when. And when it does, those who prepared won't just survive, they'll thrive. If this interview opened your eyes, smash that like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon, because the next truth bomb from Lynette could drop any moment, and you don't want to miss what comes next.